The member for Rankin.
Thanks very much, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. Given 52 out of 55 of the government's wages forecasts have been wrong, and real wages will go backwards at an even higher rate this year than the last budget anticipated, why should the Australian people believe anything the Prime Minister promises on wages, especially on the eve of an election?
The Treasurer has the
Mr Speaker, I tell you what won't increase wages. That's $387 billion of higher taxes, Mr Speaker. $387 billion of higher taxes, which was Labor's policy going into the last election. Now, Mr Speaker, last year's budget, when we made a wages forecast, it actually came in at 0.5 percentage point higher than what we had forecast, Mr Speaker. 0.5 percentage point higher than what we had forecast. And as the Prime Minister has outlined in the budget year and beyond, we have forecast that the wages price index being above inflation. And what we know is the way to drive higher wages is to drive down the unemployment rate. And when Labor came to government, the unemployment rate was 4.2%. When Labor left office, the unemployment rate was 5.7%, Mr Speaker. And I can confirm to the House that the unemployment rate today is at its equal lowest in 48 years at 4%, Mr Speaker. And that female unemployment is at its lowest level since 1974, Mr Speaker. And in the budget last night, we printed a number for the unemployment rate to have a 3 in front of it for the first time in 50 years, Mr Speaker. And that belongs to 26 million Australians. And unlike those opposite, when they were presiding over the recessions in the 1980s and the 1990s, the unemployment rate remained elevated for some 10 years. This time round, it's taken just over a year to get the unemployment rate back.
The Treasurer will resume his seat. The member for Rankin on a point of order.
Yeah, relevance, Mr Speaker. You were in government in the 80s recession, Jenny.
The member for Rankin will resume his seat. The Treasurer is relevant, and return to the dispatch box. The Treasurer has the call.
Mr Speaker, the reality is the best way to drive down unemployment is to invest in the programs that we announced in last night's budget. And with a lower unemployment rate, you see upward pressure on wages.
Members on my left.
So, Mr Speaker, through this crisis, we have done everything we possibly can to help save jobs and to help put Australians into new jobs. And today there are 375,000 more Australians in work than at the start of the pandemic. That is something that belongs to all Australians, and it's the pathway to higher wages.